Olive to lead us in our invocation and Mr. Hamlin to lead the Pledge of Allegiance following that prayer.
Let us bow our heads. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you as we look to the future, and we ask for your guidance, that we will surrender to your guiding hand. Thank you, Lord, for the citizens of this community, and we ask for your blessings so that you may be glorified in our existence. These blessings and others we ask in the name of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Mr. Hamlin.
For the faithful flag, please. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated. Madam Clerk, will you call the roll?
Sir. Ms. Robinson.
Present.
Ms. Olive.
Present.
Mr. Gordon.
Present.
Mr. Lenore.
Present.
Mr. Hamlin.
Here.
All present, Mayor.
Thank you, and let the record show that the quorum is present. Under announcements, our first announcement is the general election is Saturday, May 2nd. I heard the dates for the absentee, but I can't remember when absentee is going to be happening. Anybody remember offhand?
Probably the week before, Mayor.
Maybe the 18th to the 25th.
18th through the 25th?
I think so.
We think that might be that, but for folks who are interested, please check with the Registrar of Voters Office, and it'll probably be in the newspaper sometime between now and that time. Citizens of Bastrop participated in the election on Saturday, and we have two new alderpersons that have been elected already. And I see Mr. Howard Locke in the audience today. I don't know if Mr. Nason is here or not, but congratulations to those two individuals for having been elected. Ms. Betty Olive was elected to serve as mayor. Her term will start July 1st, 2009. Mr. Gordon was not selected to serve the next term. Ms. Robinson and Mr. Lenore are in a runoff on May 2nd. So we encourage individuals in those two districts to be sure and go out and vote. It is very important that people participate in the process, because that's making decisions on who will be representing them, because this is a representative democracy, for the next 4 years as mayor in the city of Bastrop. We don't have any other announcements that I can think of offhand. We'll probably be bringing stuff forth as we go through the meeting. Item number 4 on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from the last meeting.
After looking at the minutes, Mayor, they seem to be in order, so I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes from March the 12th, 2009.
Mr. Lenore makes a motion.
I said.
Ms. Robinson seconds his motion. Is there any discussion? If you're in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed should say no. The ayes have it. Mr. Hamlin, do you have a report from the Finance Committee?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that we adopt Resolution 09-1270, the claim for March.
Mr. Hamlin makes a motion to adopt resolution number 09-1270.
I'll second Mr. Hamlin's motion.
Mr. Gordon seconds his motion. Is there any discussion? If you're in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed should say no, and the ayes have it. Is Mr. Vereen present? Okay, no report from Main Street. Ms. King? Ms. King, you come forth and give us a report on Morehouse Economic Development. We have a lot of things going on, and we ask her to be brief.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, City Council. It's always a pleasure to be here, and it has been very busy since the closure of International Paper. And we have a number of initiatives underway. I'd just like to share with you first about the redevelopment plan that Time America is going to be, they have started in the community, and how this is going to kind of take place. But toward the end of the month, it's going to be the end of the month, the surveying team that will be coming in, Younger and Associates, who is the subcontractor for Time America, will be stationed at some strategic points in the community to where they can have a lot of contact with citizens, and they're going to be assembling demographic data, and some of this will be like measuring skills and interest and attitudes and things like willingness to work shift work and some things that are maybe unique to our community. And these will be assembled in the final package that we can use as a marketing tool. These things have been used in the past to market communities to businesses. And then on the other side of that, with the actual Time America staff, we've been assembling information about buildings and some of the assets that we have in the community. And I've been helping to make that available to this company. And the more knowledge and the more that the community will share with them when they come in, everybody has something to offer in this opportunity to help with the redevelopment plan. And the better we do this, the better product we're going to have at the end of it. So I'm very excited about getting this started. And I'd like to know, does anyone have any questions about the redevelopment plan?
Ms. King, let's just briefly talk about this. After the mill closed, and we're still in the middle of negotiations with IP on the disposition and the way that they're going to deal with the property that they have. But after the mill closed, we had constant contact with our local elected officials, meaning our state delegation, our Secretary of Economic Development, the governor and his staff, the congressional delegation, Rodney Alexander. In fact, our congressman and both senators came through Bastrop, and they came through City Hall, and either in this room or in our conference room or in other rooms, they met with us to talk about Bastrop and its future. And from those meetings, we were able to get a commitment from the state to spend a number that hasn't specifically been designated, but several $100,000 to pay, because we asked for a plan, a study. We needed help in determining the future of Bastrop. What profile, what identity would we take on since the mill was no longer here? And they consented to this, and they agreed to fund this, and we've termed it a revitalization plan for economic development with the direction of the governor. Monies were allocated, and we have been assisted by an individual named Kelsey Short. He's our guide through this whole process. We've had team meetings and input from community leaders, and we sent out a request for proposal, and we got responses from several folks, several experts, competent individuals who had history in doing planning and assistance to communities that have gone through events of this kind nationally, and who wanted to work with us. The expertise that was offered was phenomenal. And we narrowed the list down to about three or four groups, and then we had individual conferences with these folks. And the group from Mandeville, Louisiana, which came highly recommended, was selected, and it's called Time America. Ed B. is our point of contact, and he has some folks with him, and we've met with them on a couple of occasions. And what Kay is talking about, people coming into the community, we're going to have folks from one sector of this group coming in. They're going to interview at least 400 people. 400,
yes.
400 people, and this is this plan is not specific and exclusive to the city of Bastrop. It's to Morehouse Parish, and they're going to go to sites where people gather and do surveys, because any plan, no plan is effective unless you have buy-in, unless you have ownership, which is taken by the folks who it will impact. It's kind of like you can make plans for a big program at your house or at your church or something like that, but if everybody doesn't buy into it, it doesn't work. Now, this plan is going to be a paper document, but like most paper documents and books and stuff like that, plans that you make. Once you make the plans and if you put it on the shelf and just let it sit there, nothing is going to happen. And one of the things that I insisted on as being one of the requirements of the entity or the group that we chose is that even after they developed a paper study, after they talked to folks, after they did surveys to see what the opinions of the people in our community were, what the assets that we have are, what the future industries, future growth industries are, and other things that I won't mention at this time, that they stay for a while and help us implement that. Now, Kay King has said that they're going to be here, and it's important that we have folks participating. But I reiterate, if you, the citizens of Bastrop, don't take ownership of the plan and of the actions that are required to make the plan work, it's going to be a collection of pages. I think I saw Brother Cal Adams in the audience a minute ago. You know, he can preach all that he wants to, but if people don't buy into the message, if they don't have the faith in the words, we can read the Bible all the time and pray all we want to, but if we don't implement our prayers and our desires, then it won't happen. So I implore you, we can do everything that we can. We can get local expertise, outside expertise, the state, the federal government, and everybody else can wish that Bastrop changes and grows and develops. Unless you and we are willing to change, it's not going to happen. Kind of like education. You can sit up in a classroom for 15 years, and you can have the best teachers presenting you all the knowledge in the world, but if you don't take that knowledge and make a change in your life and your surroundings, like the old folks say, you're just going to be an educated fool. And that's what Bastrop will be. Bastrop will be a well-prepared place with the best plan in the world, but it will be sitting there. So my message as we talk about this plan, this economic relations study, which is revealing to us, it's like a doctor who diagnoses your medical situation, and he prescribes for you. If you don't take the medicine, Mr. Hamlin, if you don't take the exercise, like you said a while ago, if you don't start doing exercise, that's a little inside joke, not joke, but it's reality. If you don't take the prescription that's made for you, for us, it'll be for null and void. Those folks will make the whatever $100,000 that it is that we spend, and they'll be going about their business. They will fulfill their responsibility, and we might be just still here waiting on something to happen.
Yes, and I know that there's many people that say, well, we've done these kind of things before. We did a strategic plan in 2002. And I will say, looking back at that plan, that many of the things were accomplished, that these folks, when they came in and they pointed out a lot of weaknesses in the community, and there's been a lot of cleanup and gateway projects and things that were recommended during that, and that these things are useful to help. Some of the things, maybe when we look at it on paper, it's kind of common sense, but sometimes if you don't see it on paper, that it's not that obvious to everyone. But I do urge people to participate in this. We will be getting a schedule out, and it does give people a chance to express the things that they want in the community, the things that they're interested in, and the credentials of the people that are doing this are very good. And as I said, that some of their data has been used to market to companies and has been successful. And so this is a real opportunity, just the opportunity that we've had where we've had people like Kelsey Short with the Louisiana Economic Development in our community. And I think that we've gotten some exposure from Baton Rouge that they really understand a lot more about what we're dealing with here. And just that, it's a pity that we have to have a closure to get that level of understanding. But I think that we're on the road to recovery, and I'm very optimistic about the future at this point.
in addition to what I was saying a minute ago about buy-in, there was a USA Today article that I carry now in my bag. It's probably 15 years old, and this thing talked about location of businesses and industries. And people always talk about why businesses choose to locate in a particular place, and some of you heard me say this before. And most folks think that businesses come to locate in a place because of the tax breaks that they might get, or the quality of life, the theaters and the activities that they can go to, the restaurants and all that kind of thing. But the number one reason top reason that people go and locate in a place, in addition to some other stuff, but the number one reason is that there is a trained and available workforce. Trained workforce. So I'm saying that segueing into the importance of individuals emphasizing to yourselves, not just to children, but to yourselves, the importance of education and training. As a board of alder persons, we don't have anything to do with the school system other than improving and providing a good quality of life. But we can encourage ourselves and those folks that we're responsible to and for to become educated. We have one of the best trade and technical schools in the state of Louisiana, Louisiana Technical College. We have 3 universities that are less than 60 miles away. We have all kind of proprietary schools that do all kind of training. But yet still our skill level is very, very low. And that's why in many cases, the jobs that we have are being filled with folks who are not from Bastrop and Morehouse Parish. That's one of those touches of reality that we have. So we got to really look at ourselves and prepare ourselves for this future. This plan, even though we are so fortunate to have that, will mean nothing if we don't do something about it. I'm preparing, and along with Kay's help, I'm preparing to testify before a congressional hearing in Shreveport. Is it next week? Is the hearing next week? I know we got the deadline for the
I'm
presentation.
just looking at the deadline right now. So.
Okay. That's your first task, right?
Yeah.
We got to prepare the testimony, have it into them by noon tomorrow, and I think it's on the 17th. But we'll have to go to the Shreveport and testify at this congressional hearing. And what they're trying to do is figure out, talk about the impact of small communities on small communities when businesses leave. And we have some ideas that we're going to be presenting to them. But Kay's comments a minute ago about finally getting folks' attention. People are realizing that when industries leave small rural communities, it has a domino or rippling effect. It's drastic and extremely serious. So we'll continue to work on that. Anything else, Kay?
Well, I have some. Mr. Floyd makes a lot of contacts with people, business people, and people coming into the community, and he gave me a lead this week for someone that called me, and I actually have a prospect for the industrial park.
Okay.
And some of the focus that I've tried to shift into that industrial park is for trucking and fabrication, and this company is non-competing, but it's very complementary to the other businesses that we have in the industrial park right now, and so I'm really excited about trying to help this, and hopefully it would be very exciting to get a new business in the industrial park. So I appreciate that lead from Mr. Floyd. So, and I've been very busy, and a lot of it's kind of paperwork shuffling, but I think that, like I said, I'm very positive about the things that are coming about right now.
Very good.
If no other questions?
I have a question.
Ms. Olive?
Thank you, Mayor Hawkins. On profiling our identity, have you discussed any particular areas of identification with Thai America? Or that's all still
Like profiling a list of target industries?
our identity for the community? they're doing it from the ground up, just as if the slate
Yes.
is clean?
And I mean, it probably doesn't matter what I say. I'm very interested in what they have to say, because as I've worked in the community now for 4 years, lived here for 10 years, I think that we lose our fresh perspective. We begin to drive by things and we don't see it anymore. So having another company come in, even though I study and I have, I try to do all of the educational things that I can to make myself good at my job, and I lend some knowledge of the community as they're studying it. But I'm very interested to see how they see us. But I
Okay.
know that one of the things they had indicated was fabrication, which
Okay.
was,
One of the things that's going to come out, and we don't want to, we don't want to plant any ideas in their minds, Ms. Olive, and that's going to be their reason for sampling this community, to find out, based on their expertise, what it is our capacity or our potential points us to.
right.
That's why they're
And-
going to be asking the questions and doing an analysis. They're going to be taking a look at the number of folks that we have who leave here and go to Nigeria and Alaska and go offshore to South Louisiana and do welling. The number of folks who drive 18-wheelers out over the long road and come back and stay here. The number of folks who have come from other parts of the nation and moved back here and brought resources.
That's one of the
They're gonna-
questions
they're
that I
analyzing
asked
that.
them to
Yeah.
add to the survey, because that's a number that we haven't really gotten a good handle on, is we'd like to estimate how many people have returned to Bastrop and in what time period. So we've added some questions. That was one of the things that we added so that we could get some data on that. And this will be very scientifically collected. What they'll do, they'll take a cross-section of the community of how we know it's made up. We have this many people of this age. We have, certain education levels and all of this demographic profile that the census develops. And they'll make sure that the surveys that they take, that they have a good control group from each one of those, of each one of those groups or classes that they're looking at. And then as they're in the community for 3 or 4 days, they'll look and they'll say, oh, we need more 35 to 45 people, and so they'll try to fill this in so they get a good sampling of the community. And it's expensive to do this in-depth study.
Let's don't try to go too far into that, but in answer to Ms. Olive's question, they don't have a profile. We don't want them to come in with a preconceived, notion, because we want them to see what they find and then prescribe based on that. Another significant part of it, and we've mentioned it, but I want to be clear on it. A major task that they have been given is to give us a list once they discern what it is that we fit. They're going to be doing forecasting to say what are the future jobs, those jobs that will be developing. We have some ideas and we've been pursuing them for a while, but we need them to do it. And also, once they say, well, you guys fit X thing, making widgets, then they're going to give us a list of folks who are in the widgetry business, people who make widgets and all the supporting stuff that goes along with it. And also tell us what kinds of education, I go back to that, what kind of education and our training is necessary to support that kind of industry. So this is a comprehensive package that they're going to be providing to us, not just the typical SWOT analysis that we've had. And some of you have been in the rooms where they put charts up and you go around and say, what's the strength? And you say, well, our people and our assets, our highways. And then you get a red dot, blue dot, green dot. You put the dots up there and you count them to see what. They're not doing that. Because we can do that through extension. We can do that through all kind of other agencies that we're affiliated with. This is a total package. And once we get the package, we're going to do something with it. Any more questions from Ms. King before we move on? Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Item number 8 on our agenda is resolution number 09-1271, a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute a cooperative endeavor agreement and any amendments thereto with the State of Louisiana Office of Facilities Planning and Control of the Division of Administration in connection with the Facilities Planning and Construction Project number 50-M19-07-01. Short name for that is putting a roof on the Central Fire Station. We have been working on this thing for how many years, y'all?
At least 4.
It has been ongoing. The roof at Central Fire Station is in bad shape, and Representative Charlie McDonald helped us get $200,000 a couple of years ago, and we have been working diligently to get plans and meet the criteria. When you get state or federal money, there's a path. That's a nice way to put it, Ms. Goldman. There's a path that you have to follow, and you have to walk that path in the steps that they say. If they say start off on your left foot and you turn every corner that you get to on your right foot, you have to do it that way, and there are no exceptions. So we've had plans, we've had them approved, you've approved bids, and there's a guy named Mr. Lee who keeps asking us for stuff, doesn't he? We have sent and resent, and it seems like the same thing over and over again, whereas our billing chief keeps asking me, when we going to start on it? When we going to start on it? And I said, when we going to start on it, chief? We got a biller who's ready to go, and the project is going to take shorter than it took for us to get it approved. But I need you to approve this resolution, adopt this resolution, allowing me to execute this cooperative endeavor agreement, which it seems like we've done before, but that's what they want us to do, and we need your approval to do that.
Mayor Hawkins,
Mr. Gordon.
I make a motion we adopt Resolution 09-1271.
Mr. Gordon makes a motion to adopt that resolution.
I second that, Mayor.
Mr. Lenore seconds his motion. Is there any other discussion? If you're in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed should say no, and the ayes have it. Chief, getting the color right is a minor thing on this, isn't it?
I mean,
We're trying to get a red roof down there that's fire engine red, and the red that we wanted, they didn't make it, and just that fed in the price. Like, oh, you just couldn't imagine. But this is going to be done. This is going to be done. Item number 9 is ordinance number 09-4189, an ordinance of the mayor and board of alderpersons of the city of Bastrop to amend 523 and to enact 5-24 through 540 of the Code of Ordinance, City of Bastrop, Louisiana, to regulate ownership, keeping, and maintenance of dangerous dogs within the city of Bastrop. Mr. Lawrence, would you go to the microphone and make any comments or explanations that people might have while he's on his way to the mic? We introduced this ordinance last month, as is our requirement. Ordinances have to lay over for a month before they are adopted. Did we have to have a public hearing on this?
Yes, we did.
We had a public hearing at 5:45. Did anyone show? No one
Ma'am.
comment?
Mayor,
Ms. Robinson?
before we get Mr. Lawrence on the microphone, the last time when we held this over, I asked that we had a monetary fine attached to people who would not reveal where the dogs were if they had moved them and they had to go to the pound or something for a certain length of time, and that was not in here. So I don't know if we want to continue with it or put it in here or leave it out or whatever, but I just,
Okay. So say again what you wanted to find for Ms. Robinson.
it was for people who had dogs that, for whatever the reason, they wanted to be confined. The dog pound, the dog person said that they needed to be confined. And at one point, a lot of people won't reveal where their dogs are.
Okay.
If they remove them, and I asked for a monetary fine for every day that they did not reveal where the dogs were being held, so they could be confined by the, and impounded.
Is that contempt of court, Mr. Lawrence? Is
Well,
that-
yes, actually, it would be treated as a criminal violation. One of the things that I wanted to point out, and this may meet Mrs. Robinson's satisfaction, along with the other Board of Alderpersons, under Title I, Section 8 of the Code of Ordinances, there's a catch-all provision that says up to $500 per violation, up to 6 months in jail, and per violation is per day. So when we have an ordinance that does not have a penalty provision stated within it, Section 1-8 provides that it governs, and so it is up to $500, up to 6 months in jail, I'm sorry, here in the city court. And that would cover the issue that you're mentioning unless you wanted it to be different.
That's fine. I just feel like that, you know, if we're going to go this far with bad dogs, which we know we have. Dangerous dogs, well, bad, dangerous, or whatever. But that's satisfactory. So.
Are there any questions, or is there any explanation that Mr. Lawrence needs to make to this body?
It is quite a long ordinance, too, I would point out, and what we're doing, we're inserting it at a logical point within the existing Code of Ordinances by placing it right in the section that begins after 5-23 of the existing ordinance.
There is a clear and specific definition of a dangerous dog. Because if I had a Chihuahua and it had attacked some people, it might be small, but it's dangerous, you know. So, is that kind of right, Joe?
Right. I have a question, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Hammond, yes, sir.
I read it and looked through and made some points. The person having control of the dog, they said in one section a person has to be 18 years of age to own a dog. But then it says a person having control of the dog, which in my interpretation means you out moving around with him or whatever. It said capable of controlling him. And I was seeing some young people walk a dog. Maybe they're capable, but it looked to me like the dog may be halfway dragging them. Now, what? And there's no age on it for individual out walking those dogs. Now, how do we interpret capable? You got a kid, 8, 9, 10 years old, walking a dog as large as he is. Are we supposed to accept that as him being capable?
Well, and age does become a factor under this particular ordinance, because if you are a juvenile, certainly you can violate this ordinance, but how you would be viewed or how you would be treated would be different from the penalties and the expectations that are provided for in this particular ordinance. Okay. This is the model ordinance, by the way, that was lifted from, I want to say, the city of Rain. I'm trying to remember which jurisdiction we got it from. Can you direct me to the exact, since it's so many pages, to the exact section that you were looking at? That'll help me.
Direct control, this is the piece I have, the third page. About 3/4 down, it said direct control mean immediate. It's what is the last paragraph? I guess you call those paragraphs. All of them start at the beginning.
Okay, I'm with you.
All right. If you read that, it just says capable of restraining it. Person capable of restraining it. It doesn't say an age on it. And my point is that I've seen young people walking dog, and they have him. I'm not sure they can restrain him if something happens. That's my concern. Mm-hmm. There's no size on him, no age on him, and who determines whether that kid, that young person, can control that dog?
Well, I think obviously if the dog is wreaking havoc, if the dog is uncontrollable, whoever has custody or control, as well as the owner. The section that you're looking at, by the way, is the definition section, and I wouldn't say that it's necessarily tied to an age. I think, in other words, if we're looking at the same provision, it's just giving the definition of what direct control means.
Right.
And I'm not, I think I understand. I understand the principle that you're asking about. I'm not sure that I'm totally comprehending, though, the question to be answered. I'll say this. This is, in order for it to be a criminal violation, there has to be criminal intent. There has to be where you have the ability to control an animal and you don't. I would say that in the event that you're talking about, you would look to the owner, you would look to the parent, you would look to that person that the child answers to and ask the question, why does that child have that animal?
Okay. Even though the parent is responsible.
Yes, as a matter of fact, there's a strict liability statute also in the state of Louisiana well, two of them that are pertinent here. One says that the owner of an animal is responsible for any injury or damage or harm that animal controls. And the second one says that parents are responsible for the actions of their children.
Okay. So
those two things working in concert would address that as well.
One other question.
Mr. Hamlin.
Section 5-30. The permit, the $50 permit. Is that permit for the owner, or is that permit for the dog? A person having a $50 permit to possess the dog, he or she can have as many as they want?
I would say that's per dog.
That's per dog?
Per dog.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
What if this individual breeding the dog for sale, as long as it's in his stall or control, he still need a permit for each dog?
Yes, sir, and keep in mind, too, the question becomes, is that particular animal a dangerous dog? Does it fit within the definition of a dangerous dog? And if it does, I would say it doesn't matter about the control issue. If that is about how they have them stored or whatever, it's about how many dogs they have. That's how many permits they have to get.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Where were we? Are we ready to make a motion and adopt this resolution ordinance? Adopt this ordinance. Are we ready? I'll entertain a motion if someone is desirous of doing that.
I make a motion that we accept ordinance 09-4189.
Ms. Robinson makes the motion to adopt ordinance number 09-4189, an ordinance for the mayor and board of alderpersons to do a dangerous dog ordinance. Mr. Hamlin, were you going to second that?
Yes, sir, I second.
Mr. Hamlin seconds Ms. Robinson's motion. Is there any other discussion? If you're in favor, please let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
If you oppose, let it be known by saying no. The ayes have it, and so is the order. At this time, we are at agenda item number 10. Mr. Hall, if you'll come, whether you want to come to the table, if you want to spread out stuff, I don't know if you want to come to the table, to the microphone, whichever you want to do. This is an annual event. Annually, we advertise for bids for public works products that we use, products and or material that we use in the public works division. It goes from stuff that she'll talk to you about bridge timbers and culverts and gravel and sand and hot mix and all kinds of stuff. We advertise and get bids, and these bids are applicable for the whole fiscal year, which will be 09-10. And this way we can budget. Once we know what the price of gravel is and the price of hot mix, we can create our budget and decide on projects that we'll carry out. So, Ms. Hall, you have done your work, and you have a list of stuff for us. And is this reflected in package 10 for you guys?
It is.
All right then, Ms. Hall.
Okay. Bid openings and recommendation supplies for the fiscal year 2009-2010. Base course aggregate, Jonesville Company, $14 per ton, based on their sole bid. Surface course aggregate, I recommend Jonesville Company LLC for $14 per ton, based on their lowest bid. Number 2, wash maintenance gravel, I recommend Jonesville Company LLC for their lowest bid of $19.25 per ton. Ready mix concrete, recommend Century Ready Mix for their lowest bid. Rubber asphalt sealer, Williams Equipment and Supply at 85 cents per pound. That was the sole bidder. Creosote Ridge Timbers, Kennedy Sawmills, that was also a sole bidder. Concrete Coverts,
Why don't we have prices for those?
they're so long, it's like 3 or 4 sheets per item, and I can give them to you. Concrete Coverts was Rinker material, based on their sole bid. Coated Metal Coverts was Contact Construction Products, on their sole bid. And Dreer Contracting for the hot mixture was $87.50 per ton. And they was the sole bidder also.
Amanda, back on the wash maintenance gravel and the ready-mix concrete, I noticed there was some others that came in with the same amount of the bid.
Right, on the ready-mix concrete, you had 2 with Century Ready Mix and TXI. I chose Century Ready Mix because TXI, they're going to charge us $50 per haul charge for loads less than 5 cubic yards. And it's not guaranteed that we're going to get, you know, we might get less than 5 cubic yards, we might get more, and they're going to charge us a $50 per haul charge every time.
Is Century charging us any per haul charge?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And on the Jonesville Company for the wash maintenance gravel?
Right, well, they were $19.25 per ton. The J&K Transports was $19.79, and TXI was $20.50 per ton. So the $19.25 was the lowest.
Okay.
Where are they located, Amanda?
I'm not sure, I'll have to go back and look. The rest of them are Louisiana, Shreveport, Benton.
Is that it? Oh, you too fast for me. I'm accustomed to you going down, and Sandra used to do that, huh? Just read. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, you heard the information which is applicable to the material and supplies that we need to purchase. I need a motion to accept the bid.
I'll make a motion.
Mayor, that we accept the bid for the work.
Okay. Mr. Lenoir started the bid, the motion, and Mr. Gordon joined in with him, so we'll have a motion jointly stated by Mr. Lenoir and Mr. Gordon to accept the bids. Is there a second?
I second.
Jointly second by Ms. Robinson and Mr. Hamlin. Is there any other discussion? Ms. Olive, you the only one that had to join in on this one, huh?
I do have one question, Mayor.
Okay, Ms. Robinson?
Let me find it again. Well, thought I had it right here. Hold on just 1 minute. The hot mixture, the $87.50 per ton, didn't they supply us with this in the past? Can you tell me how much higher it was this time than last year or the year before? Because I know it's gone up.
I can, I'll have to go back and pull it, but I can.
Well, it's all right. I thought maybe you might have it there. It was just a comparison thing. We have to do what they sell it for. It doesn't really matter, does it?
Okay, any other discussion? If you're in favor of accepting this motion, please say aye.
Aye.
If you oppose, say no, and the ayes have it. We have a little special project going on too as it relates to the street. We're looking at different kinds of processes to help us stretch our money and getting the streets done. So we're working on something with Drill with the new process that he uses in a couple of streets that we're going to be doing in the very, very near future. And we're going to analyze it to see its effectiveness and the possibility of it being used in the future. Is Brent Elton here? Okay. But don't come right now. I just need to be sure because I need a sidebar with you. Item number 11 is permission to enter a contract with SMI pertaining to repair of East Madison swimming pool. Doug Lawrence and Alan Tanz are going to talk about that, but East Madison is our largest pool, and Mr. Tanz, you might want to come up to the microphone just to be prepared in case we have to discuss something. Mr. Lawrence as well. There's some significant deterioration of the big filter water tanks. They are large steel containers that process and recycle the water that's used in that process. Those tanks are in bad shape, and we need to buy those items. After shopping around, Mr. Tanzi, and trying to find a vendor for them, you had one vendor that was out of state, as I remember,
That's correct, Mayor.
and they had a price, but they would sell us the product and ship it to us unassembled, and we would have to assemble it and do all kinds of stuff. But then, after discussing with Mr. Tanzi, I asked him to check with SMI, which is a local company, the company that we've been talking about, that came and located with us after being devastated by hurricanes, and they wanted another location. And I knew that SMI was in the business of making these kinds of vessels, and you went and talked to them?
Yes, sir, I did, Mayor.
And the results are?
The results, they gave us a bid to come in and actually assemble the tank here and put it together for us at just about the same bid that the other company did, and they were just going to ship it to us, and we would have to install it in ourselves.
The other company,
Correct.
right.
That's correct.
And I followed up because I wanted to be sure that the product that we got met, to use a term that builders use, our turnkey requirements. Once they put it together, we were going to flip the switch and put it on, and it was going to put the water through there, do the filtering, reprocess it, and do everything that we needed. Because we weren't sure when we first saw the quote that we got there. And we are assured, and to me, the additional piece that made me feel extremely comfortable with it is they are just 10 blocks away.
That's correct.
In case we needed any additional. Now, the tanks at East Madison Pool precede my tenure here. I'm pretty sure that we haven't replaced them, and I've been here 20 years. We haven't replaced them there, so they last a long time. We investigated fiberglass,
Yes, sir, we did.
but fiberglass we didn't think would meet our needs.
That's correct, Mayor.
And we've been patching on these for some period of time. Evelyn Lenoir is here, and she's been at Parks and Recreation for some period of time. She's had experience there. And we were headed for a major catastrophe, but there are 2 tanks.
That's correct.
And the price on them is?
The bid price on those particular tanks is $28,917.
Now, Mr. Lawrence's reason for being there is we wanted to be sure that it met all the requirements, and you know that I don't believe in violating the law when we know better, and that's why we depend on our legal counsel. And Sandra and I had conversations as I was traveling this afternoon, and we wanted to have the assurance. And Mr. Lawrence, your findings are?
Yes, sir. Well, one issue was whether or not it had to be bidded. The answer is no, because it's actually a public works project. If you're going to have both materials furnished as well as labor and installation, It's a public works project. At those prices, it's well below the bid threshold, so there's no requirement there. And I have it on my computer, but I sent, there's a contract addendum that we had to do.
Okay.
Just to add on to the language that SMI furnished. It dealt with insurance requirements, hold harmless provisions, just other things that...
Warranty kind of stuff and all that.
Yes, and so that is a part of the contract documents that you should execute if this particular contract is approved.
Now, the thing that made me feel comfortable about it, you know, first we had gotten the first bid, which we had gotten a couple of them, but we have comparables. We have something to compare with. So we're not accepting SMIs without knowing what else is out there in that universe. So I recommend that we accept, that you give us permission to enter into a contract with SMI, accepting Mr. Lawrence's statements and about his concerns, and that SMI is willing to go along with the new stipulations in the contract.
Yes, sir.
That's your recommendation?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Members?
Mayor Hawkins, I have a question.
Mr. Gordon?
With the swimming season coming on us fairly soon, did SMI give us a time frame that they could have this prepared by?
Yes, sir, they did, Mr. Gordon. They said they could complete it in 3 weeks.
Okay.
I'm just, question, Mr. Lawrence, I'm just curious, just curiosity. You said it's a public works project. What's key about that that makes it out of the realm of...
It is a public works project.
It is?
Yes,
It is. It fits
It
that.
fits, okay.
Yeah. That's why we were able to do that.
Yes.
If it had not, we would have had to go out. Sandra, the bid would have been $25,000 max had it not fit the definition of public works project.
Okay.
So
Gotcha.
it did.
Actually, well, the public works limit itself is $100,000 when you have labor involved. So, and that's what really actually fit this one versus us, say, buying a police car or something like that, which would have been the $20,000 to $25,000 threshold. So it fit well within that $100,000 threshold.
Let's see. This is May. When do the pools usually open? June?
Yes, sir. The first week in June.
I'm going to wait before I make that other announcement about the other stuff that we've been talking about.
Yes, sir.
We have another issue, and I'll probably be having some discussions with you on it before we make the announcement, and we'll probably schedule to do that in the May meeting, because we need to talk about swimming pool from a different perspective, swimming and other things as well. Okay. Did we pass that? Did we carry that motion? Where was that? We had discussion. If you're in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Did we have a motion or second first?
I'll make that motion, Mayor.
We trying to buy this tape, y'all? Okay, let's start over then. What's your pleasure?
I'll make the motion that we grant permission to enter the contract with SMI.
Mr. Gordon makes the motion.
I second it.
Mr. Lenoir seconds his motion. If you're in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed should say no. And remember, you're giving me the authorization to sign the contract if SMI agrees with the specifications. Okay?
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Hamlin?
I'd like to make a statement, please.
Yes, sir.
You know, we talked about SMI for the longest. I am real happy and pleased and joyful that SMI is going to get some of the city of Bastrop money.
Amen.
Yes, sir. We just never had anything to fit before, did we, Kay? Or did we?
We've never had a fabrication company the size of SMI in this community, as far as I know, and I think that it is possible.
If you're gonna make a speech, you gotta come on. Bottom line is, we've not had anything to fit SMI's specification, what they do, right?
Right, they fabricate such large projects that we've had some projects that have gone to West Africa, Mexico. You know, they're very much into the oil and gas industry, and they let's see what they do, energy plants. But anyway, it's very nice that we have a company in town that can provide us with these services.
Right.
I don't think.
When Mr. Tanzer came and told me what it was that he was doing, and I said, okay, well, let's, before we consider doing some of this, and let's go out and talk to SMI, and everything fell in place, right?
That's correct.
Absolutely. So we believe in shopping at home. We definitely do. Okay, thank both of you, all three of you, in fact. Let's see. Mr. Elton, Brent Elton, our airport manager, please come on up. And the reason I didn't recommend, usually we're not in here and you usually have your cap on. That's why I kept looking for you. You just got back from New Orleans when, today?
No, sir, yesterday, actually.
Yesterday. How was the conference?
It went very well, and it was really a conference that was actually geared more towards the smaller GA airports,
Right.
like what we have.
Mr. Elton, I introduced you to, how many months ago? 2 months?
2 months, I believe.
2 months ago is our airport manager, and we've been working diligently on programs, and is this your first, what do you call it? Is this your, what's it called?
LAMA. I think
LAMA,
that's how they pronounce it.
Louisiana.
Louisiana Airport Managers and Associates.
Okay. Part of our thing of sending our people and to conferences and the activities that are relevant to what they do. When Mr. Litchfield was here, he attended them as well. So we encourage our staff to be active and to get knowledge as much as we can. Okay, we're talking about accepting engineering firms for the Morehouse Memorial Airport. I'll let you go and then we'll fill in.
Okay, we did receive a statement of qualifications from several different engineering firms, and myself and an intern that I have from Louisiana Tech, and we went through the selection process as outlined in the Airport Manager's Handbook that's provided by the Louisiana Department of Transportation Aviation Division, that outlines what criteria you use to select your engineering consultants. And at the completion of the selection process, we found that the LPA group had the highest score of any of the engineering firms that had submitted the statement of qualifications, and that Denman Engineering had the second highest rating of any of the engineering firms. And as it is my understanding, the city would like to have 2 engineering consultants for our master services agreement for the next 5 years.
Yeah. And the reason that we're selecting 2, and thank you, Mr. Elton, for doing that,
The LPA group.
LPA group is basically based out of Florida,
I think their home base would actually be South Carolina.
South Carolina,
but
somewhere on the East Coast.
They maintain an office in Baton Rouge.
Okay. They have more national prominence and expertise. I've seen projects that they do, and they bring a capability that we need to utilize. Denman Engineering has long history, and they're local. And the fact that we're selecting 2 engineering firms does not impact the price. We will only, as we always have been, only pay a firm if they have a particular project. Because we are online to get and have been getting sums of money through federal and state projects, some of them extremely large, some of them are small. I wanted to have the capabilities of not having overkill by having a national firm, nor missing opportunities that are local in nature by not having a local firm. So my directive was to take a look at the folks who responded and to select 2. One, and inserting the criteria that I hope nobody gets angry about, but I wanted somebody that was kind of local, and then somebody who was larger. And you're recommending the
Correct. Recommending the LPA group and Denman Engineering.
engineering as the engineers of choice, and the decision will be made by the administration as to what firm they use for what particular project. Both of them come highly recommended, as is indicated by the selection process. Okay, is there a discussion, or are you ready to make a motion on Mr. Elton's recommendation?
Make a motion.
Mr. Hamlin makes a motion. Is there
I'll
a second?
second.
Jointly second by both Ms. Olive and Mr. Gordon. Is there any other discussion? If you're in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed should say no. Many of you know I went to Washington about 3 weeks ago, and we went up to take our list. Thank you, Mr. Elton.
Oh, yes, sir.
Did you have something else?
Oh, no, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I'm glad that they didn't keep you in New Orleans. You were able to come back home. They let you go. We took our list of asks, as we always do as Congress gets ready to start. And I got an email while I was in Baton Rouge this week from our lobbyist, and his comments were, we've made the first round and we're on Congressman Alexander's list. About 4 projects that we have that are ongoing, that we are on the list that are being submitted into the process. So we are alive and well, and some of the things that we've been working on for some period of time, we'll just see. Some of them are economic development oriented, some of them are infrastructure. One of them is a street project, one of them is a sewer project, one of them is as I said, economic development project, one involves the lake project and all that. So we are in the queue to be funded. The city of Bastrop and Morehouse Parish are, and even the, I forgot what's the latest name for the equestrian center, y'all? The activity center. Even the activity center is one of the things that we're promoting. So that too is on the list. So we'll just see where it goes from there. Congressman Alexander is working for us extremely hard, as well as Steve Pruitt, who represents us in Washington, and we will be seeing the fruits of our labor. Okay, we're at item number 13?
Yes,
sir. Okay. Item number 13 relates to getting an Attorney General's opinion on a couple of items. Mr. Lawrence, if you'll come back to the podium. I don't know if Jessica needs to join in with him, but we need you to talk about these 2 items that we're getting an AG's opinion on, we're requesting.
My understanding is that they involve the cemetery, one, and second one deals with the subject of occupational licenses.
Okay, Jessica, you want to join in down there, please? Jessica Scarborough.
As I understand it, the first matter deals with what happens when you have an indigent person or an indigent family, that is, someone that does not have any money or that has very little money, and they have a need to bury someone, but they cannot afford to bury them.
Let's establish first the fact that the city of Bastrop owns 4 cemeteries, owns and is responsible for 4 cemeteries. And we sell plots in those cemeteries depending on availability. Frequently, we get calls from either families or from funeral homes or from nursing homes saying that there is a person who died in the state that I think legally is called indigent or paupership, which means they don't have any money, don't have any means, might not have any family, anything of that nature. And they asked us if we would provide them with burial space in our cemetery. State statute prohibits a governmental entity from giving away anything of value.
The state constitution.
State constitution, right. Which is even better than state statute, right?
Yes.
Higher. And we're reviewing this, and we might get when I make this announcement, we might get a flood of folks coming in now. But we sell in our cemeteries funeral plots in 2s for $500, $600. And there's some fees that go with that.
$27 for deed file.
Okay. To file it as a deed because it's a property transaction file in the courthouse and all that. So we can't give to anyone that thing of value, a grave space. And over the years, we've transitioned from taking people's words to the fact that we now require funeral homes or whoever is responsible for the remains to give us a written statement stating that the person died in a state of paupership. But we've been finding that sometimes people don't give you the total truth. and we'll just leave it at that. We found out that there were some assets. So we are then asking Jessica and Mr. Lawrence for the Attorney General to give us information as it relates to this matter. Anything you want to add to it, please step up to the mic.
What we're asking, what requirements should we have? Really what I'm trying to get at is what are the set requirements that the state would use to determine paupership?
Documentation.
We want the same for everyone,
Right,
same
okay.
standard.
And Ms. Lawrence?
And I mean, that ties into the basic question of, can you give it away? And then there's the competing interest of, well, what happens if you don't bury the person? I mean,
Do we have that obligation?
Something has to be done.
Right.
And it's a matter of just making sure that the protocol is followed to take care of a situation where there's no money.
Okay.
So, and that's how I would word the opinion request to the Attorney General if this is approved.
Okay. And the second item is revocation of occupational licenses due to unpaid sales tax. City of Bastrop grants and sells occupational licenses to individuals who want to open businesses, no matter what kind of business it is. If you have a business and you're domiciled in the City of Bastrop, you are required by law to come in and buy a license, no matter what kind of business. If you have a home business, you're operating out of your house, you're in the City of Bastrop, doing business, you're supposed to come in. And we're getting better at enforcing that. We're finding folks who have all kinds of things going on in their houses and advertising on Channel 7, which we're being broadcast on right now. And we pop up and see somebody, who is this business here? So-and-so's Cut and Sew Factory operating at 125 Providence Avenue. And Jessica, like Mr. Obama said about Vice President Biden, you don't want to mess with Joe, you don't want to mess with Jessica because she'll find you. But it brings in revenue. And if it's fair for Burger King and McDonald's, it's fair for Miss Jane, who has a business, to buy a license. That's simply what it is. But we have a situation where sometimes, well, Jessica, you tell them what happens.
We have businesses, I'm in pretty regular contact with the people at sales tax. We have a lot of businesses, usually it's smaller businesses, that have occupational license and renew their occupational license yearly, but are severely delinquent on sales tax. We're trying to find out if we have any grounds to revoke their license because they're not paying their sales tax.
Okay. Should we still grant them an occupational license if they're delinquent with the Sales Tax Commission?
Yes, sir.
And we don't want to just not issue an occupational license, but we want to be sure we have grounds to do so. Mr. Lawrence?
Yes, sir. And just for clarification, two different sets of fees or two different remittances, and it's a matter of not only, I guess, revocation of those licenses that exist now where somebody is behind or delinquent, but also the annual renewal process. You start the new year getting a new license. Can the city say, no, we will not sell you a license because you are delinquent on what you owe from last year for sales and use taxes? So it's kind of a little bit broader issue dealing with both ongoing licenses and the renewal of licenses.
It is a law that a person doing business with sales and providing of services of different kinds have to collect sales tax first.
It is a law.
That's a law.
Yes, sir.
It is a law in the city of Bastrop that if you do business, you're supposed to have an occupational license.
Yes.
And we're talking about enforcing the law. Is it just that simple?
Yes, sir.
And we want the Attorney General to give us a ruling on what it is that we can and can't do as it relates to that. Board?
Question.
Mr. Hamlin?
I thought this man over here counts sales tax.
He does.
Yeah.
But they talk.
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay. All right.
But
They talk to
ultimately-
be sure that the businesses that we grant occupational licenses to, they know over at sales tax, they know that that person or that business is in existence and they should be paying them sales tax.
Yes, sir. It's a
And they-
requirement.
And they let you know about somebody who's paying sales tax as to whether.
Yes,
Yeah.
sir. We require them, if they are selling at retail, they are required to have a sales tax number before, it's part of the application for occupational license, and that's a state application. Most of our problems coming in after, during the renewal periods, they're not paying during the year. They get the initial number, but then they just don't pay the taxes.
So this is going to help not only the city of Bastrop, but the sheriffs, the school board, everybody else who collect the police jury, as well as the state. Okay.
If the state agrees with the concept that you can deny or revoke, it helps everybody that has an interest in the sales and use taxes that are being collected.
What happens to a business that doesn't have an occupational license?
Actually, it's a crime. I mean, they're not supposed to be operating without one. So that's, you know, the first issue. And all the other rules that apply to all the other businesses apply to them, especially those that are required to remit sales and use taxes.
So people who doing computer home-based businesses are supposed to have an occupational license?
Yes. Yes, sir.
Does the parish have occupational licenses?
They do.
They do?
They do.
Okay. Okay. All right. So,
Mayor,
yes, ma'am, Ms. Robinson.
are we going to vote on both of these at one time?
Unless you want to...
I would recommend that you that you separate them for clarity.
Okay, I had a question about the cemeteries. What do we do if they can't pay for it? Are we going to vote that we give them a place to bury as a pauper, or what?
What we're asking for overall is guidance on the entire question.
Okay.
Because you do have an obligation, the city has an obligation to maintain a sanitary environment, and not burying folks goes over into that issue.
Okay. I know that the funeral homes usually help in this situation, because I've worked with people before who could not pay the whole amount. My question is, do we have the facilities to cremate someone who cannot pay for anything? Would that be an alternative?
First, we don't have crematory capacity.
Okay.
And if we did, that would be giving a service as well.
Okay.
Yeah, you'd be in the same boat.
There are several in this community, some of our viewers and people who are in the audience, they might belong. The church that Mr. Hamlin and I are members of, we have a cemetery for members of our church. Several churches have them. They have community cemeteries and all the rest of that. So, but they have requirements, as I appreciate it. We do, don't we?
I don't know, man. I bought mine in the city. I got to find that animal waiting on me.
As I appreciate it, any organization, churches that do have their own cemeteries have requirements, and membership in that church is usually a requirement in order to be buried there. I don't know if they sell plots and all that, but so, Ms. Robinson, I don't know, and that's, and as Mr. Lawrence said, that's really why we're asking the AG to see what we can legally do, because the bottom line is, according to the Constitution, as you said, we can't give. And if we can give, we want to know the circumstances that we can give and what kind of documentation.
Could we sell it for $1?
The dollar, it has,
Well,
Mr. Lawrence.
Couple of answers. Our code of ordinances say not less than 300 per plot. So that's a problem. And then if it's too low, it's still really a donation in disguise is what we would call it. So there would be problems either way if we tried to do that.
And that goes back to that thing, Ms. Gorman, that we run into when we have property that's been adjudicated to us, we still have to sell it at the appraised value.
Right.
Which is long.
Right.
You know, as I've said before, there are three things that determine what we do. There are three things, and all of them basically have to be present. The will of the people, the amount of money we have, and whether the law says it. Will of the people, and we might have the money to do something, but if the law says we can't do it, we can't do it. Is that right, Mr. Lawrence?
That's correct.
That's what overrides whatever we do in this body. Okay, so we need permission to obtain AG's opinion.
I'll make the motion.
Ms. Robinson makes the motion.
I'm sorry, y'all gonna do them separate?
I'm sorry.
And if you would,
A first, revocation of occupational license due to unpaid sales tax. Will you give us permission to obtain AG's opinion? Ms. Robinson, your motion still stands?
Yes.
Is there a second to Ms. Robinson's motion?
I'll second.
Mr. Gordon seconds her motion. Any other discussion? If you're in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed should say no. Ayes have it. Part B of this request for an AG's opinion, request for an opinion on documentation requirements for paupers' graves.
I make the motion, Mayor.
Mr. Lenoir does.
Second.
Mr. Hamlin seconds. Any other discussion?
Let me ask a question.
Ms. Olive?
How many times have we given the paupers' graves in the last 2 years?
you know, I'm not sure what
We can-
the answer to that is.
Well, again, we have made paupers' graves available based on the documentation from funeral homes, funeral directors. I would imagine 5. If five is a high number, Mr. McKee, you agree? 5 is a high number. It's not very often. I can remember recently, and then we had results of a death and a couple of things, but it's not very often, but it's one of those items that if somebody challenges us on it and we're violating, we're in trouble, right?
Right.
Okay. All in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed should say no, and the ayes have it. Okay, is there representatives from the Crawfest 2009? They are applying. Mr. Walker, you want to come up? And representatives from the Crawfest. Yes, sir. Please come up. This is an annual event that we have. It's Mr. Boots Farrell. We're honored to have you with us. Outstanding citizen, former school board member, everybody's banker, and all that kind of stuff.
Mr. Farrell, put Jerry out. You got rid of Jerry Jordan?
No, she's working. We can't get her to work. She had to go to work at 6 o'clock.
Oh, well, good.
Former Mayor Pro Tem Jerry Jordan is usually present with us. And annually, the Fair Board, as I appreciate it, sponsors the Crawfest, which is a 3-day event, more than 3-day event, but they ask for a 3-day beer permit. Sir, would you step forward and introduce yourself so we can be sure we have you on the record?
Yeah, Tom Hardy from Riverside, Coney Island, and Monroe. I put the festival on last year, and this year we're going to try to do it again.
Okay, before you get started, how big are the crawfish?
I have to win the guy away now.
That's why we've been waiting. It's been a slow start this year. It's been a slow start. The cold water had the crawfish late coming in this year, but they're nice size now, and they're getting bigger, and the price will drop after Easter, too, a bit.
Okay. Tell us about the event. How many days are you going to be having it?
5 days, Wednesday through Sunday.
Okay. And your 3-day permit is for what days?
Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
Okay. And help us remember, I think you use bands.
Yeah, we have Rockin' Dipsy Jr. this year on Saturday.
I meant...
Oh, the other band. Yes. We have a separate tent for the consumption of the beer. We're in a separate area that circle concrete deal. We have a beer tent there, and we have bands and everybody's ID.
Everybody's ID.
Everybody.
Okay. You expecting... Now you can talk about the other kind of band.
Oh, yeah, Little Rockin' Dipsy, he's a good band.
Okay.
He'll be here on Saturday the 16th.
Okay. Very good.
And we have some other entertainers from Gary Brown from New Orleans will be here Friday. And we have Blues Cat and
Okay.
a bunch of other bands.
Ms. Farrell, come on up. We can't let you come here and not come onto the microphone, please. We're
Well,
pleased
I
to have
just
you.
found out last night that the Midway is going to be Mitchell Brothers, the same one we had for the Cotton Festival this last year, which was all new and bigger than anything we've had in a long time. So it'd be
People
great.
seem to have enjoyed it pretty well.
They really did, yes.
And this is a benefit for the fair, for improvements in the fairground operations and
Yes,
things
sir.
of that nature.
Operation, yes, sir.
Okay. And this is a community event, and we encourage people to attend. Okay? Mr. Walker?
There,
grant these people the permit every year. We write a letter to Baton Rouge and stating that the mayor and council gave approval for this, which has to be done before the state will issue their permit.
Were there any activities or actions or complaints which would make us have reservations about issuing that?
None whatsoever, sir. I don't know of any that we've ever gotten from them.
Okay. You recommend that we approve this?
I recommend that we grant this permit.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, you heard the comments orienting us as to what this is all about, and from Interim Chief Walker stating that there have been no problems or that it is something that he would recommend that we do. What's your pleasure?
Make a motion to grant it.
Mr. Hamlin makes a motion that the permit, 3-day permit be granted. Now, do they have to go to state first? Do they have to get one from the state first?
We don't actually issue a license. The state sends you
Yeah, they send you the
something.
forms, but I have to show that,
Right. All we have to
approved
have
it at
is
the fairgrounds is
the letter.
Bottom line is state procedure, ABC requirements have been satisfied. Okay? Okay, Mr. Hamlin made a motion. I interrupted his motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Ms. Olive seconds his motion. Is there any other discussion? If you're in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hope that the weather is good.
Yes.
What are those days? Yeah, sorry.
The 13th through the 17th, Wednesday through Sunday
Of May. Okay. Okay, we encourage our citizens to attend and participate in this event. It's a nice spring event. Thank you very much. Okay, is there a citizen who'd like to make comments to this mayor and board of alderpersons in our audience? Is there a citizen who'd like to make comments to this mayor and board of alderpersons? There is one? Sir? Sir?
That's Cotton. You don't recognize him?
I didn't know if he was doing this or he was really coming to speak.
I was hearing the chief speak, and I thought it was someone up here. The chief's talking right there.
Okay.
I thought it was someone else.
If you'll introduce yourself and you may
Yes,
speak to us.
I'm Henry Cotton,
And your address is
328 West Madison.
328 West Madison. Mr.
Bastrop.
Cotton, yes, sir.
Yes, sir. How you doing, Mayor?
Fine.
Hello, all persons.
Excuse me, just a minute. Gentlemen, judges, step outside. Thank you very much.
That's what I heard, Mayor.
I did too, Mr. Cotton.
Yeah, okay. Yes, sir. Okay. Just a couple of real quick things. On the sales tax that Ms. Jessica was talking about, when Mr. Lawrence maybe, I don't know who's gonna, when you're doing this, of course, there's no excuse for people taking trust money, you know, the 10%, putting it in the pocket or using it in business. I'm not trying to defend that. However, I think we need to be cautious that we can put somebody out of business that may be struggling. And I was wondering if there are going to be any kind of precautions that we don't take the position of a bank who would foreclose and run them out of the business. What you're doing, if you take away the license to operate, aren't you really foreclosing on the business? If they can't open tomorrow morning without being arrested, Mayor, is that tantamount to a foreclosure?
Well, they would be operating illegally, wouldn't they?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so what would you recommend?
No, I was hoping that, you know, for instance, there could be a business that's on the verge of pulling out of some kind of trouble. And if this board of aldermen say they're behind on the sales tax, they haven't gotten the deal done, you could say, don't let them open up tomorrow. And those decisions are sometimes huge decisions to make, even for bankers who may be holding hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of paper or millions of dollars worth of paper. And this, you're giving this, the body would have the power to really put them out of business.
And my question again is,
on where?
My question is, what would you recommend?
Put some cautions into your law, into your ordinance.
Like?
Well, like, for instance, you could say, we're going to have a review panel that would talk to the debtors, talk to the sales tax commission, talk to the business, give them a chance to have due process and talk and make their case and say, look, I got a loan pending. But if you put me out of business tomorrow, gee, you're going to ruin my life, you're going to ruin my business, you're going to ruin the prospect, plus you're never going to get any money from me. So, due process, which is often overlooked by a lot of bodies. Okay. So I'm hoping that you just put some due process clauses in there, Mayor, that you go through a full thing before just saying they owe us $250 let's shut them down.
Okay.
Second thing, the H.V. Adams Cemetery, for instance, is almost full, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay. What's the capacity left in the Adams, the 4 that we either own or maintain?
Okay.
What's the capacity left in those?
And I can't speak to capacity, but we are in the process of surveying parcels that are adjacent or that are undeveloped in both Adams and Memorial Park to accommodate.
Yes.
This sounds harsh, but future deaths.
Yes, sir. Well, it's inevitable, isn't it, Mayor?
Death is inevitable.
Yes.
And
Now,
taxes.
are you going to have...
Death and taxes.
Yes. Okay. Are you parceling this part where the fire training facility is now, do you have option on that? For instance, in Adams?
We have, excluding where the fire tower is, but we have property all the way back to, I can't remember the name of the street, that's already cleared, that can be parcel off and so on.
Okay. I was looking at that the other day.
As well as the section between the street and where the pecan trees are, we
Right.
own all of that, so.
Yes, sir.
I was looking at. And as since you're mentioning that, as we develop new parcels, we will, and we hope that the future administration will as well, strictly enforce the level ground markers.
Yeah.
Which allows us to more efficiently maintain those properties through our fault in not regulating more effectively headstones.
Right.
And Adams should have been what do you call that?
Right.
What do you call that?
Well, Mayor...
Cemetery is where, excuse me.
Yeah.
I forgot, what do you... No, not perpetual care. In a cemetery where you don't have markers above ground, level ground markers. Adams was supposed to be designed there, and somebody put a headstone up, and somebody else put it, and so we lost control. But in the other areas that will be developed, people will not be able to put headstones and mausoleums and obelisk and statuesque and deers and stags and all that up there.
Yeah, that was my next question, Mayor. I was going to ask you, was there a standard that we had originally, that's the others there? Was there a standard? You just covered it. But I was wondering if there was a standard, when the ordinance that said we should bury, because as Mr. Locke, the last person to let us down, would...
Might not be.
You're right.
That was a joke, y'all.
Thank you, Mayor. But the standard, we got a mausoleum, large mausoleum, one, I think, out in Adams, and then we've got varying heights of vaults, some concrete, some... So I just didn't know that, and that's on the paper that I just gave you. So you answered it, Mayor. And I was hoping, I'd like to admonish the next, whoever's up here. So let's try to do that, because Adams really doesn't look that good. Okay?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Now, next thing. You see, the third thing I got on there, Mayor, is a fence. Would the council consider fencing in for protection? Fencing in these cemeteries. The one over on, what is that? What's the name of that street? By Locks, by your funeral home there. Marable? What is it, Christchurch? And Adams particularly. I think that it would do so much for that community if there was some type of fence, iron wrought or whatever, with entrances. Just hope you consider that. I don't know what's available. And my last thing, and I'll try to make this brief, the airport. You have 2 engineering firms that you approved tonight to be on a list, right?
Yes.
But that's not designating any particular project to either one. You're just approving them?
Right.
Okay, I just didn't understand the procedure. What's the limit on how many you can approve to say they are on approved list?
Well, that would be something that the administration would determine the number that they felt was justified to fulfill their expectations. We don't have the volume of traffic of activities that would indicate to us that we should need more than that. We don't have, you could have only one.
Yes, sir. Okay. No, I was just wondering, are there any projects now that's let to any engineering firm that we're working on now? What happened to the extension of the runway? Is that done?
The money isn't,
What are we at, 4,000 feet?
the money isn't there for that.
Yes, sir.
That's
Okay.
that's one of the asks, that's one of the appropriations, one of the requests that we're making to the federal government for
Okay.
that. We have to do a lot of more stuff to do that, acquire the land and do a whole bunch of things, but that is on our federal ask list, and it's on our list of things to the state as well.
Okay.
We do have some projects pending, some work that we plan to do out there, some ongoing things, some of it dealing with communications and lights and getting the taxiway lights repaired and just a whole bunch of things.
Well, let me commend you, Mayor, on appointing an airport manager. We've been needing that. Thank you, sir.
Thank you
Really
very much.
appreciate that.
Thank you very much. Is there another citizen who'd like to make a comment to this mayor and board of all the persons, to this group?
Make motion for adjournment.
Mayor Hawkins,
Ms.
I'd like to be a citizen right now.
Okay.
I would like to remind everybody that we're right in the process of cleaning Bastrop up, the Keep America Beautiful, and we were going by districts, and of course, mine being A, I'm first, so we're working really hard. And if the other districts, if you need help, I would encourage all of the citizens in Bastrop to get out and help us clean up and pick up. I know it's not fun going out and picking up someone else's trash, but it's a reflection on us whether we throw it out or not. So let's all get together and clean up Bastrop and help keep it clean. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Hamilton made a motion.
I'll take it back, Mayor.
It died for lack of a second?
Died for lack of a second.
Okay. Are we ready to adjourn?
I make a motion that we adjourn.
I'll second.
Mr. Noah does, and Mr. Zach seconds it.